You know, doing this. You feel like you got it?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
cool. Great.
I want the person to click though.
Mine wasn't clicking.
You got it though. You got it. All right. So when can you stop doing CPR?
When EMS arrives.
Yes. EMS. Person wakes up. Give someone to switch off with, or you have an AED. All right. What do any of you know what AED stands for? What you use it for? Defibrillator. You got it. It's automated external defibrillator, and it's used to shock a person's heart back into its natural rhythm. And it can increase a person's chances of survival by 50%. So it's a great device to have. And this, if you're in a public place, yes, ma'am.
Be aware that there's one at the front desk, everyone. If you're looking for
Thank
one,
you.
we have one on site
She can't help you.
that I can't use, but we have
You
it.
will. You'll be able
There's
to
one at
use
the front
this.
desk.
I don't think it's the only one in the building. I think there's others.
That's the only one I've ever seen.
Oh, there's one upstairs.
No, it's hanging on the wall. It's hanging on the wall.
Okay, okay.
Good.
It should
I'm
be
glad you
too.
guys have one. That's really great. But when you're calling out in a public place and you're saying, you call 911, you get an AED, you really want the AED. That's really important. Because this is what's going to actually shock the person's heart back into its natural rhythm. Or hopefully it works and does that. Alright. And you all have one here, and you're most likely going to find them in public places too. So like airports, malls, schools, some community centers we've been to have had them. Some churches might have them. But definitely, here, check it out when you get a chance. Alright, so I'm going to first talk about how to use this, because once I turn it on, it's going to tell you exactly what to do. I'll demonstrate that after I talk. So you don't have to remember everything I'm saying, but do pay attention. Alright, so the first thing it's going to tell you is to take their shirt off. And if it's a woman, then take the bra off, everything off. Modesty goes out the window. Okay, yeah, so you're going to take that off because you're going to be putting two pads on that are going to send an electrical shock through each other to shock the heart. And they have pictures on them, and they're going to show you exactly where to put them. After that, if the person has a hairy chest, usually they have a razor or scissors, and you're going to want to clear that off really quickly and then get firm skin-to-pad contact. Yes. Yeah.
They're gonna be dead by the time I finish shaving them.
Well, I mean,
That's
you're
what
gonna
they
make
use.
it.
They still got
It's
nasty.
It's not a nice shave. You're gonna try your best to.
A nice shape.
I mean, yeah, just get it out of the way, basically. That's all you're trying to do. All right, and then you're gonna put the pads on. It's gonna ask you to stand back because it's gonna analyze the heart rhythm, and it doesn't want to pick up your heart rhythm. After that, it'll say, stand clear, and if you're in a public place, you're gonna want to say stand clear. No one should be touching any part of the body. And it's going to send a shock. And what it's not going to send a shock, it'll say, okay, you can send a shock, and you just press a button. And it presses it, and then sends a shock. And then it'll say, all right, make sure EMS is on the way, and begin CPR. So then you would start doing hands-only CPR. And then it'll go through a cycle unless that person wakes up. You don't stop until that person wakes up, or the EMS is in front of you saying, okay, we're taking over. Keep the pads on the whole time. If someone's in water, take them out and then make sure this part of their body's dry. Same thing if they're in a puddle or snow. As long as this part of their body's dry, it's okay to put the pads on. It'll be fine. If someone has jewelry, that's okay. Leave it on as long as the pads aren't touching it or it's not in the way. If someone has a pacemaker, you'll see like a bump or maybe a scar, then you just put the pad below the pacemaker. Any questions right now? Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate how to use it, and usually they have like a heart and a lightning bolt symbol. That's kind of the AED symbol. Alright, so this is going to act as skin for the dummy, but you're not going to find this in a real AED, so you don't have to worry about this part. Alright, so to turn on, yep.
Begin by removing all clothing from the patient's chest. Cut clothing if needed. Look carefully at the pictures on the white adhesive pad.
So,
peel one
there's
pad
this.
from the yellow plastic liner.
Then there are the pads, and they have actual pictures on there. So you're here's the first pad.
Place pad exactly as shown in the picture. Press firmly to patient's bare skin.
Great. I'm not pressing firm, just because we want to reuse these.
When the first pad is in place, look carefully at the picture on the second pad. Peel the second pad from the yellow plastic liner. Place pad exactly as shown in the picture. No one should touch the
So
patient.
stand clear.
Analyzing. No one should touch the patient. Shock advised. Stay clear. Shock delivered. Be sure emergency medical services have been called. It is safe to touch the patient. Begin CPR. For help with CPR, press the flashing blue button.
Alright, so if you forget CPR, you've got a couple of resources. Your Louisville dispatchers will walk you through it, and this, if you have one. Did you have a question? Okay. Any questions about this right now?
This is, if it's available, you always try to
Yes.
do it before.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can do CPR in the meantime while you're waiting for it, but you definitely want to get it.
So you can start with this while somebody runs down that.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
do that. You only do it once, and then you.
It'll go through a cycle and
Okay.
it'll tell you exactly what to do. And if this person doesn't need a shock, it's not going to send a shock. Yes. Any other questions?
Can you tell if they get a shot or not?
Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
probably.
like I was waiting to see it like
Well,
pop.
this is
Lord.
this is the training one, but yeah, they'll probably like jolt.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, so can anyone tell me what's the best way to survive a cardiac arrest?
Proper resting exercise and more diet.
Yeah, prevention is key, right? It's kind of a trick question. We don't want to have them in the first place. So, what are some basic things we can do to prevent them from happening?
Lower your
Exercise. You said exercise earlier,
Exercise.
yeah.
Eat right.
Eat right, exactly. So exercise doesn't mean you have to go out and become like a CrossFit pro or anything like that. Just get 30 minutes of elevated heart rate a day. So walk your dog, go for a bike ride. If you're cleaning your kitchen, dance around while you do it. Something that can be easy. Someone said eat healthily. Healthy. Said that weird. But yeah, you want to limit your processed foods. You want to get your fruits and vegetables in. You want to limit the amount of red meat that you eat. Like, in moderation, it's fine, but if that's all you're eating, maybe consider some other proteins. What is the single worst thing you can do for your health? Just
Sit.
smoke.
Smoke.
Smoke. Yeah.
Smoking, yeah. So if you're a smoker, not only is it terrible for your lungs, but it means that your heart has to work harder to pump, to do its job, and it makes you a lot more likely to get heart disease later on, or to maybe have a cardiac arrest, go into cardiac arrest. So if you do smoke, try to cut back or stop. If you don't smoke, good. Stay that way. We also want to try and keep our weight in a healthy range for our age and our size and our gender and all that good stuff. So those are just some really, really basic little things to do. Okay, pop quiz time. You ready? So you are in the office here, and one day your coworker Henry collapses on the floor in front of you. What is the first thing you want to do?
Check his pulse.
Yeah. Hey Henry, are you okay? Are you okay? He's not answering you. His eyes are closed, and he's making this really weird noise. He's going. That's that gasping noise that they talk about with cardiac arrests that are really common. So you're pretty sure Henry's in cardiac arrest. Now what do you do?
Get that little defibrillator if I have
Call
one.
911.
Yeah, you send someone. You're in the office, right? So get the
Stop.
people around you to help you. You call 911. You go get the AED. Okay? And then what?
Start CPR.
You start CPR. How deep should you be pressing?
2 inches.
2 inches deep. And how fast should you be going?
128.
Yeah, so it's 2 compressions per second, or 100 to 120 beats per minute. You can use Staying Alive. You can hum that to yourself. You can also do Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson and Crazy in Love by Beyonce. They work too.
Oh, I like that song. Thank you.
And I mean, sometimes we teach to, like little kids who've
To
never
sing
heard
it.
Staying Alive, so gotta try and find other songs that work. Okay, and when can we stop doing CPR on Henry?
When help
Would help arrive.
Yeah, so the EMS arrives and they're ready to take over. Another coworker is like, hey, I'll help you out. I was at this training too. And they take over for you. Henry becomes responsive and he's like, ow, get off. Or maybe worse. Or someone shows up with the AED and you start doing that. Okay? Alright. Questions? Okay, now I'm gonna show you a video of a high schooler who actually goes into cardiac arrest. So you can see what it looks like in real life when they do all of this.
A high school volleyball game is underway outside Atlanta. The play is intense but friendly. Then a moment of utter horror. The ship collapses. You can actually hear the thud as she hits the hardwood floor. She lies there, lifeless, as everyone runs to her side. The teen is in full cardiac arrest. One coach performs CPR, but it's not working. It's looking grim for 17-year-old Claire Crawford. Then somebody rushes in with a defibrillator. There it is. It's in the black box. Sure enough, you can see Claire's body jolt from the electric charge. Julie Servant is the quick-thinking school administrator who used the defibrillator.
Life started to come back in her, and it was wonderful to see.
And this is Claire today. It's a miracle. Claire says she was feeling fine during the volleyball play. Just seconds before she passed out, the ball came her way and she gives it a good whack. But then something goes wrong. She's in distress and clutches her heart, then collapses. Can you tell us what your symptoms were?
I had pain down my left arm and my heart felt like it was working really hard, but I just assumed I was out of shape.
Claire's mom, Lisa, was in the stands watching the volleyball game.
We were just desperately praying. It was 4.5 minutes. I mean, it was a long time to watch them doing compressions, and definitely we thought we lost her.
Here's a defibrillator similar to the one that saved Claire's life.
Analyzing the heart rhythm.
So it tells you everything. Yes.
Do not touch the patient.
Step by step, it will tell you exactly what to do. If it says stand clear, don't touch. This is one team who is truly lucky to be alive. Claire, how are you feeling now?
Feel good, better than before.
So as you can see, they really do jolt when you, in real life, when you use one of these. And you definitely want to make sure you're not touching the person, or that no one else is when you administer that shock. Alright, we show that video to drive home the point that these aren't just happening to the elderly, they can happen to anybody, anytime, any place. They can be very sudden, without any sort of warning, really. And that's why we want you to have this training, so that you feel comfortable acting in an emergency, and so that we can bring up the survival rate in Louisville for these things. It's not great right now. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you a little homework. Tonight when you go home, or maybe later when you see a coworker who didn't get to come to this, just walk them through what you learned really quickly in a few minutes. It can be really simple, and we actually had a lady do this with her best friend after one of our classes. She just told her about what she learned, and then a few days later, her best friend saved someone's life when they collapsed in the dry cleaners, and she hadn't had any former training. It just been her talking about this, so it really does matter, especially if you have kids. You can walk your kids through it pretty easily. Any questions? Okay.
I just want to share something with group. I know personally that these work. My daughter at 17, I almost started crying watching that because she was on the soccer field, and that's exactly what happened. And her high school, this has been 11 years ago, was one of the only ones in the area that had one of these at that time because they were super expensive, and it saved her life. I mean, that was her first heart issue, but it saved her life. I mean, she recently had a pacemaker put in because it's continued, but yeah, these really do work. If it hadn't been for that, we would have lost her that day. But that was almost perfectly what happened to her in the soccer field.
But yeah, it's great that she did it. So yeah, you guys can do this. You got this, okay? We go, oh, by the way, I'm gonna give you these cards that prove that you've had some training. They don't expire and they're not a certification, but you can keep it in your wallet, and if you do have to do CPR on someone, it'll help protect you under Good Samaritan law. It'll just show that you know what you're doing. Also, our contact info is on there. If you have like a church group or like a group of family members, whoever, that you want to have do one of these classes, we will come to you for free. And we bring all of the equipment with us.
I'll be back.
Like we've been to family reunions before. We'll go to however you want to do it. Just get in contact with us. And I have one last request before you go. So we took over our university's Instagram today, and we're trying to promote Start the Heart on it. So I wanted to know if you would be down to take a picture as a group, maybe do like a group photo.
Sure.
And you can do it. You can grab the dummies, however you want to do it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've done CPR training over and over again. I think a lot of us probably have. We do it for work, we do it occasionally. And I still feel like if I actually came across the situation, I'm gonna panic, I'm gonna be nervous, and I'm not gonna wanna step forward. And I think a lot of people feel that way. This seems so simple and non-scary when we do this, and we're sitting here for an hour, and we're all learning this. But is there a place where we can get, I was hoping this little card would have, it's step 1, step 2. You started out with their 2 steps. And it was that's so comforting to go, it's just this and this.
Yeah.
Check for responsiveness, start compression, send someone to 911. But having something that had that I can just go, okay, if you happen to have it with you, or just to review it every few months or so you feel fresh with this, I would love that. Is there something on the website that has that?
I think they have the steps posted on the website, but I don't know if it's like a printout version.
We could create it.
We'll definitely
But
like
just
recommend like putting something on the card because I think that's a great idea.
The
to
back
have
of this
something-
card.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
just to
is-
say
and
like
like our, well, I don't know if
our
it's-
shirt, yeah, our t-shirts say like
Push
one,
hard and fast.
yeah, push hard and fast.
says
And then
Yeah.
call 911, push hard and fast. Yeah.
Push hard and
Yeah.
push back.
Worst
It
case
does-
scenario,
Yeah,
if
that's-
you are freaking out and you forget everything you learned here today, push hard and fast, get 911 on the way,
Yeah.
and just try. Do your best because any CPR is going to be better than doing nothing. Okay?
Well, the fact that it says hands-only CPR, just
Yeah.
that name change,
Yeah.
I haven't heard it
Yeah.
called that before. Like, that's less intimidating.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's like the goal of the course is just to like make you feel more comfortable acting. Like you said, most people aren't comfortable or willing to act in an emergency like that, and we just really want to make you guys feel more comfortable.
This is a summer only program or?
It's all year.
Okay.
Yeah, year round.
You'll have different interns, not
Yeah.
just the summer people.
Just the summer crowd. Yeah.
Do you know how much they would be if you wanted one in your own home?
An AED, they run from like 1,200 to 1,600.
They're making it affordable.
Yeah, there's one person we've met that has had them in their home, and it was because like her 4-year-old sister had seizures where they happened so long she'd go into a cardiac arrest and needed it for her at home. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if we could have them at home, so many people would be alive.
Yeah.
I'm sure in
yeah.
the next like 15 years they'll become, or 10 years they'll
Hopefully,
be more.
but
And the EMS, when they get there, will have a defibrillator. That's the
Right,
thing. It's
yeah.
like, that's why you
That's
gotta
the
get
big
there
thing about the
as quick as
EMS is the EMS will have.
Are there statistics? You said there were 850 people in Louisville in the last year who had a cardiac arrest. Do we have stats? Do we know where those occur? Do they tend to happen at home or
They
when people are
happen
out?
all over the place.
Yeah.
They are more concentrated on the west side, it looks like, though.
yeah, also just in underserved and minority communities, it's more.
And we know that, like, if you're outside the Watterson, it takes longer for EMS to get there, too. So that can sort of affect the times.
Just all these are just the occurrences, these aren't who died, I mean.
No.
These are just
No,
cardiac
yeah,
arrests
we
in the
just-
past 2 years.
But I mean, keep
And you
in
said
mind that
something
1 in
about-
10 people will survive a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
So that should give you some idea of how many of these are deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
No.
we're getting
Well, thank
into-
you.
Picture.
Wow. Picture, yes.
Let's get